Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And if this is your first time here, I sure appreciate you stopping in. Guys, this morning we are going to talk about some rut hunting strategies, right? Some rut hunting fails, to be specific. The top 3 rut hunting fails that I see that get folks into, maybe we say gets you into trouble, but just year after year, time after time, can waste some time, some valuable time in the stand that we shouldn't be wasting those hunting hours right now, because they're very, very, very productive. Can be very powerful, very, very productive piece of the puzzle. So there are 3 things that just always are on the top of my list when we're talking about these 3 fails, and I'm going to try to help you do the best that I can in these short time videos to really open your mind and get you thinking. So maybe you can salvage this, within this week or the next week or 2 window here, so you don't have a list of fails. Maybe we can get you to that success. So number 1, guys, and maybe these are in particular order, maybe they're not. Maybe I'll put emphasis on one, which I think is the most bold, if you will. But number 1 is the FSS, right? The favorite stand syndrome. Sitting in the same stand as you were sitting in early season, or even possibly during the pre-rut. Hence the big X here on the end, right, guys? I think that it's a very easy thing to do, is to have that favorite stand. But like I have said in other videos, guys, if you are hunting, which right now we are hunting, we started implementing that, right? We are hunting these mornings. We're taking advantage of these cruising bucks on their feet, looking for these first receptive does. And if you are in a AM stand, let's say, and your view looks like what we have done before, right? You're sitting on that food source. Maybe that's a shot plot, maybe that's not. But even then, there is so much more going on behind the scenes, meaning in the timber, downwind of bedding areas, something way, way more productive than what you're sitting on. So if you're sitting on that, now with a bow, we're going to go into some gun hunting strategies here coming shortly. Our gun season here in Kentucky opens up this coming weekend. So there's some little bit different implementation, some little bit different strategy that comes with that. But if you're sitting with a bow in the morning, especially looking over a big green or a grains food source, that's probably because that's your favorite stand, right? And you just are sitting there baking that, letting it bake, right? Hoping and praying that it turns into something, and most of the times it doesn't. So food plot hunting right now, unless you have a major way to pinch those into that, unless it's a way to, really funnel those deer into that area, unless it's a very secluded food plot. That's, to me, is something that, not saying that it can't happen, but I encourage you to think outside the box, right? Be on the downwind side of those doe bedding areas, slide in further to those more rut productive spots. And why I hesitated right there, guys, is because I really don't have, the way that I design, build, and promote properties, guys, and help clients around the country, I really don't have the mindset that it's like, okay, this is a rut-only stand, right? Those stands do get better as the rut goes on, but you have to kind of think of this as a full connection, right? Because I think what happens is the favorite stand syndrome. Folks have a favorite stand early, and then they have a favorite rut stand, and the only reason that stand, right, is good is because of rut activity during this 2-week window. If it's only good during a 1 or 2 week window, to me, it's a waste of time. Now, I hope that makes sense, right? Does it get better as the rut goes on? Yes, but it still has to be a piece of the puzzle early season with your flow. We just get to elect when we put our pressure in there and start hunting it. So it's not that the deer aren't using it before. It's not that they're not there at all and they're only using it during the pre-rut and the rut. What you have to look at is, when are we going to hunt it? Because it might be further, not internal, but farther back of the farm, right? Where you have to go in there further. You have more of a chance of bumping deer out getting in and getting in there and getting out, right? Just because you're entering in one way doesn't mean you have to come out that way. So it's all of them things that go in that really kind of, maybe get us to that stand and allow us to hunt that stand during the rut, but it's just not a rut only stand. So think about that, guys. Is I just see folks, posting stuff. When my clients, when I'm first working with them, this is where I was sitting October 1st. This is where I'm sitting November 15th. Same stand, right? There's so much more. It's a different phase. It's a different mindset, right? So that's probably the first thing on every year on my list of fails that I just see folks time and time again really hindering your success of your rut hunts. So number 2 here, guys, has a lot of moving parts to it, but we're just going to keep this one very simple because to me it's very clear. It's very black and white. What I've got this labeled as, guys, is scents and no hunting, or not hunting, we should say, right? Not hunting scrapes, etc. There's a lot of folks that'll tell you that, you should start applying these scents. You need to go out there and you need to start, using switch from doe urine to estrus. Go out there. It doesn't take you very long going back on these videos, guys, that I don't encourage going out and doctoring these scrapes because, like I said, what are they really doing for you? Can that buck get downwind? Yes, it's a plume around that area, right? But it's not doing as much good for you as you think it is. So I see a lot of folks going in there because they've been told, hey, you need to doctor this scrape, and you need to make sure that you're going in there more than you would anyway, and doctoring that scrape, and so you're just fooling all the does or the bucks, right? And I encourage you not to do that. I encourage you to go back on some of the videos and look at some of the mock scrape videos and why we have them there, why they are 365 days a year, when to use scents, if it makes sense, right, like we say. This one here, guys, that ties right directly to this is something that I just shake my head this time of the year. I hear so many people, professionals, videos, whatever you want to say, right, that say not hunting, or you don't hunt these scrapes because these deer aren't using the scrapes as like what I refer to them as a phone booth, right? There's so much nonsense in that, so much negative information that I see that really hurt folks, is because everyone says that they're just wandering and they're chasing does much, and your scrape just isn't as powerful as it was before. So don't put as much emphasis on the scrape. Where are they hunting then? Hopefully you're in a pinch or something like that funnels these rutting bucks, these cruising bucks through there. But guys, don't abandon your scrapes this time of the year, right? And here's why. The reason that you don't abandon those guys is it's such a checkpoint, right? Like I said, a phone booth, a checkpoint. Whether you're doctoring that or not, the deer, the does, everything that you've had on that scented trail, if you will, right? That scrape, that trail coming to and from that, right? Guys, I use this example. I don't know if any of you that are watching this are bear hunters, but a lot of times when you're hunting bear, especially fall bears, is we're doing like a baiting bears, right? And the reason that a baited bear site works, right, a lot of times is because they put oil and all kinds of different treats on that pile for those bears, right? And what happens is that oil, especially like cooking oil, right, gets on the pads of those bears, not just the bear that you're looking to harvest, but the cubs, the sows, the boars, everything. What happens is they trek it all over the woods, right? That's no different, and so it draws deer or bear into that baited spot, right? It's no different than this time of the year in the deer world, guys. Going into this and saying don't, just throw that out of the window. Yes, there's a lot of other things going on in the whitetail mentality, right? Or how they're scent checking, or how they're trying to search, and how much ground they are covering to find these does. But guys, don't think for 1 minute that interdigital gland in these does don't all go to a scrape, right? All these trails around your whole property, all of a sudden you can just put a scrape, whether it's yours or not, guys. These things are a super magnet, right? Now, if you're not just hunting your scrape, if you're not putting a mock scrape, there could be 10 of these on your property. There could be 20 of these out on public ground, but don't think for a minute, guys, that it's not a magnet, right? Once he scent checks a doe bedding area, once he goes through the downwind side of a clear cut, once he's, traveling around these hopefully enhanced or promoted bedding areas, the next thing that he's going to is one of these scrapes. This one, this one, this one, and obviously we're hunting in between. And I've never understood why folks just say, forget hunting the scrapes, just get the downwind side only of these bedding areas. That's great, but I want to put both of those odds in my favor. I want to be downwind of those bedding areas right now. That forces him to be there when I'm there, right? I'm able to hunt the same wind that he's hunting the does on, right? And I want to be on the scrape. So that's where the 365 day a year scrape comes in. Have it there, have it cooking, because then all them trail systems throughout your entire property, or the spot that you're hunting on public, or whatever that case may be, a leased property, all of that stuff funnels into the phone booth. So when you're keeping his mentality going from one stand to the next to the next. So just don't, like I say, right, don't get caught in that trap of just believing throw your mock scrapes out the window because they're not there and they don't go to them. I just struggle with that. That could not be further from the truth, guys. Have that still as a piece of your arsenal. Just make sure that it's not just going to be a scrape alone, with no bedding tied to it, going out to an apple tree and expecting that buck is going to be there a lot on that one. But if you can tie it to the downwind side of bedding and make it another magnet, why wouldn't you have it? All right, guys, so number 3, and you'll see that I did a little coloration here for a good reason. So number 3, right, is the fail would be not hunting all day or more hours. So I'm going to share this with you guys. All day sits are not for everyone, right? You have to be in the right time, right? The right window of this rut potential. You also have to be in the right mindset to pull that off. So what I mean by that is this, guys. Make sure that you look ahead, right? You're using the Weather Underground. You're really looking at last year's production of the farm. What's going on your farm? When's the best time to be there? What the target buck that you were targeting, has showed his cards in the past, and where he likes to be. Then implement and look at the potential of being in the stand more hours, guys. I find that this happens a lot. I find that a lot of folks say, okay, I'm going to go in and I'm going to sit all day, and you get burnt out, right? What happens is you get burnt out. I'm not saying not to do that, because I'm saying if you can do that, by all means, pull that off. But what comes with this, right, is that spot going to be good in the PM as it was in the AM? So let me clarify that. If you go into that spot and it's in ridge country, right, you're above it and you need the thermals, don't just sit there just because it's going to, you're going to sit all day. Sitting all day can mean moving 50 yards, right? Moving across the transition, if you're going to cut it at all, across the transition, getting in the stand below the line of travel instead of above it. It could mean getting down into a creek shelf, going down to another stand that is better PM. Maybe it's more of a pinch, right? Maybe those does are bedded there, and that once they're there, you can get in behind them and be safe. There's so many things, right? Just don't sit in one spot thinking that every stand's an all-day sit, and don't burn yourself out. Because what I find, guys, in ending to that one, what I find is guys burn themselves out on a subpar day, right, or a subpar stand, and then it's like, man, I just don't have it in me today to do it. And guess what? You leave, he shows up, right? So, or where you should have transferred to, he shows up, and you're being lazy, and I'm guilty of it. That's why I'm laughing, right? Sitting in that stand saying, man, I don't want to get down. I got a risk of bumping deer, and that's just not, I don't want to go over there, and not going, and guess who shows up, right? So all day sits can be great. Don't burn yourself out, and really look at the stand that you're in. This one right here, guys, is probably the #1 pro and the #1 con of rut hunting. The #1 pro would be make sure that you are not overlooking the power of water, guys. If I had one chance, one stand to hang, and I only had one time of the year to hunt it, I would be hunting a water source in the pre-rut or the rut, period. Notice I didn't say a great food plot. Notice I didn't say, you know, there's a list of things, right? It would be a water hole with a mock scrape tied to it, and I would sit there, and I would sit there very religiously, because guys, if you had blinders on and you couldn't see a calendar, right? And you didn't have your phone, and the only way that you knew what time of the year it was by just the attraction, the volume driving to a water hole, I guarantee you that the more that the information, trail cameras, whatever that is, right? And you could say, okay, it's the pre-rut and the rut just because of the volume of the deer that are going to use that. The bigger bodied deer, guys, but all deer, right? They're making so much internal heat because they're putting so many more steps on per day. They're going to go to water, 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 right? So a lot of other things that I love, browse. You know what I feel about browse, but I'd rather have water. Then we can correct browse as we go with a simple 1 tank of chainsaw gas, right? But guys, if you're gonna put anything on a farm to hunt this great window, make sure it's water. So that's the great thing, and it's also the bad thing, right? It's probably the #1 fail that I see is overlooked. Folks not paying attention to a great water source centrally located with some bedding on both sides of you with a lot of stuff tied to it, right? A lot of other things tied to it. But guys, you can get away with some horrible habitat creations. You can get away with just a lot of not perfect placed stuff. You can get away with a subpar tree stand and make it an excellent tree stand by putting water, right? So the goal is not a water hole that's on a food plot, right? Huge, huge piece of the puzzle. Don't be putting these deer ponds, we'll call them, and no pun intended to the actual name of the product, right? But building a more of a pond, right? Which you know my feeling on that, but putting it right on this big food plot, guys, you're wasting an entity, and what it is you're wasting they're there so much more that I'd like to draw them to that and burn some dark time and get there so you're in that shootable hunting hours or usable hunting hours by the time that they get to that stand location. It might be 100 yards. It might just be 75, 100 yards from a food plot, but he's able to get to that, right? And it's not in the wide open. He's able to circulate that and feel more secure inside that timber lot because it's secluded. It's off the end of a food plot. It's in a shot plot. It's got screening around it. They can just step out of the timber and use it and go right back in. So water is probably the #1 overlooked thing that I see during this time of the year. So, I mean, this list could be very long, right, guys? There's a lot of things that we see that we could all do better, but these are 3 of the things that really jump out to me that can really, really make or break your rut hunting success. Thanks, guys.